What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Staffs Arceli back with another banging episode, man. Yo, it feels like it's been a minute since I've been here in the studio, man. I haven't recorded a Arceli Strategics episode in what seems like months. The reason being is because I've been focusing on my mountain biking channel. I got into mountain biking. I started my mountain biking channel called Slow Rip MTB. Go on and check that out if you're into outdoors mountain bike type content. I figured I gotta go into a different niche because, I've been having some issues with YouTube and, banning and striking striking my page due to copyright issues for videos that I posted years ago that was okay, and now all of a sudden, it's a big deal. But anyways, not getting into that, man. So today's topic is the big discussion that everybody seems to be talking about in the gun community, the whole Glock discontinuing, the whole line of Glock guns that are out there and coming out with a brand new V series of Glock. This is a hot topic. Everybody's talking about it. I personally wasn't going to talk about it because I'm just like, whatever it is, what it is, because I have my personal opinions. But that is today's episode, man. What's going on with Glock, man? Why is Glock discontinuing their whole line of Glocks and coming out with the new series? That is today's topic, man. So let's jump right into it, man. As of November, Glock has discontinued the entire line of Glock model series that are out there right now, with the exception of the only Glock that really matters that's not affected by this is a Glock 43X. The Glock 43X is well known and well recognized and is a favorite amongst people for concealed carry purposes because of the size. It's super small, it's thin, it's lightweight, and it's easy to conceal. So the Glock 43X will not be affected by this because there's no Glock switches for the Glock 43X, at least not yet. But anyways, hopefully. Anyways, why is this a big deal, and why is this big news in the gun world? So my 2 cents is, from what I understand, because I haven't really put a lot of time and effort into this, like at the end of the day, I really don't have too much dog in this fight, because it's like the other gun companies has been complying with these regulations that Glock has been fighting and getting around for years, which is not being able to convert their guns into fully automatic by putting a $3 plastic backplate on it that turns your gun into fully auto. So Glock has been getting away with this for years, and other gun companies has been complying with this for years except for Glock. And so I guess the government's finally getting tired of Glock shit, and they're like, look, man, they finally put their foot on Glock's neck and said, look, y'all gonna freaking comply, or we gonna keep suing y'all until y'all get out of business, because you just can't afford to run a business anymore. So we're gonna sue you out of existence if you don't comply. And so Glock finally complied. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So what's the reason for Glock discontinuing? What's the main reason for Glock discontinuing the entire Glock lineup that we already came to know for the last several years? Glock has been getting sued and getting lawsuits after lawsuits because of people being able to just get a $3 piece of plastic backplate, put it on there, and turn a regular semi-auto Glock into fully auto. The Glock switch. So that's the reason why Glock is getting sued, which brings up a question in my brain. Okay, if people are able to convert a Glock, take the little back piece off of the back of a Glock by the back plate, shave that down, and attach that little plastic switch, why are we suing Glock? Why are they suing Glock because of this? Like, I get it. Other companies has been, avoiding this and doing what they can to be within these regulations with the ATF about the Glock switch or whatever. But why sue Glock? Keep that question in the back of your head. Why are we suing Glock and not these little companies that are producing these little $3 Glock switches to convert the Glock into fully auto? Why are we focusing on Glock and not these companies that are making the switches, right? So that's my first question. That just keep that in the back of your mind, right? Think about it. If you're a company and you're getting sued continuously just continuously getting sued over and over and over again, caught up in litigations, and you know, this goes on for years and it's costing you money. It's costing you millions of dollars every year for lawsuits because you're just constantly getting lawsuits. Eventually, you're gonna get bankrupt because you're paying millions and millions of dollars that's going into lawsuits, and you're losing money. You're siphoning that money from the profit margins, you know, in order to maintain your facilities, to pay your employees. And you know, if all your money is slowly getting siphoned into lawsuits, you're gonna run out of business. And that's the plan. That's like the new age gun control that a lot of us are not really paying attention to. A lot of people are not paying attention to. Like, one of the topics that comes to my head, right, that a lot of people, and why this is happening, is because, like, I feel a lot of people see, like, California, for example. California is always leading the lawsuits for gun bans, and California is always at the forefront when it comes to, you know, banning guns and making up all these regulations and making it hard for the regular citizens to have guns. California is always the leading state. And I think a lot of people look at it like, oh, well, I'm in Texas, I don't give a shit about California. Shit, they can do what they want. And, you know, or, hey, that's Colorado, they can, it's not affecting me. But what you don't understand is that, yes, California might be the forefront on lawsuits and gun bans and all this stuff, but look at Colorado. Colorado seems like it's slowly turning into California, you know, and I'm pissed because I live in Colorado, and it looks like it's slowly turning into to California. So if Colorado can slowly turn into California, what's gonna stop all the other states to slowly becoming like California? You know, it's only a matter of time, because like, for example, like this is a perfect example. This whole Glock, discontinuing the whole Glock series and coming out with a new V series, which is going to avoid people from attaching switches onto it, right? It starts with California. California says, you know, we're going to start in 2026, no Glocks is going to be allowed. They're basically going to be banning Glocks, right, for the most part, right? You know, and so that's why they're discontinuing the Glocks, because they're not going to be able to sell them in California anymore, right? At least the old versions. So other states are going to be like, you know what? It's not a gun ban. We didn't say anything about banning guns. We're just forcing the companies to abide by these regulations. It sounds like a good idea. So yeah, I'm all for it. California, it's not a gun ban. They're not banning guns, but they're making the company comply with, you know, what they want to not make these guns a certain way. So then, you know, all the other states is like, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's not a gun ban, right? It's not a gun ban. Yeah, let's all hop on board. Now imagine all 50 states hop on the same wagon that California is on, right? So now it's not a gun ban. They didn't say they were gonna ban Glocks in the United States. They just said, look, we're gonna continue to sue you until you run out of money and can't make these guns no more, or you can just comply and do what we want you to do, and, you know, everybody goes home. It's a win-win situation. My question is about that. So what I'm trying to say about the whole thing before I move on to my next topic is, just because you're in a state that's not like California, you know, oh, that's California, I'm not worried about that. If all the other states see that California is doing these things and they're not calling it a gun ban, they're not calling it a confiscation, but it's working, all the other states are going to be like, well, yeah, we support that because it's not a gun ban. So yeah, we support that. And then all the states, now imagine all your states is on the same bandwagon as California. Now all states, all 50 states are on the same page as California. Now, what's to stop them from saying, you know what? Since we made Glock bend the knee, they finally gave up. Glock bend the knee. They had to, because they're going to sue them out of existence. The lawsuits weren't going to stop. So they're going to continue to sue Glock until they get out of business. So think about that. If they can sue this company and continue to sue this company, and their plan was to continue to sue this company until they run out of business, what's to stop them from doing that to SIG? What's to stop them from doing that to Daniel Defense, from Ruger, from Smith & Wesson, from Dan Wesson, from all these gun companies that you like? What's to stop them from doing the same thing to these other gun companies? You know what? We don't like this, so we're going to sue you, and we're going to continue to sue you until you decide to follow our rules and follow our regulations and do what we say. So it's not a gun ban, it's not gun control, but it really kind of is gun control. It's undercover gun control, because it's not outright gun control. They're not saying, oh, this is gun control, because they're realizing that a lot of the American people get triggered by gun control and gun bans. So they're not saying gun control anymore. They're not saying gun bans anymore. They're saying we're doing this for public safety. We're trying to make our streets of America safe. So we're forcing these companies to change their products because this is what we feel is going to make our country safe. By Glock taking that piece of plastic off their pistols and coming up with a whole new line of guns, this is going to make our community safe. But guess what? The shootings are not going to stop. The violent crimes in the inner cities are not going to stop. They're going to continue. And then what are they going to do? You know what? Okay, so we force Glock to change their guns so they can't be switches attached to them, but there's still a bunch of shootings in the streets. What can we do now? You know what? Let's limit the capacity. So now let's force all the gun companies in America, in the world, to limit their magazine capacities to, let's say, 5 rounds. So now they're gonna force these gun companies to say, you know what? You guys cannot make magazines. You guys cannot make guns that can fire more than 5 rounds. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but just follow me for a second. We're gonna force you to not make magazines anymore, fire more than 5 rounds. So now they're gonna sue these companies because they're not following these regulations. The same thing with Glock. They're gonna continue to sue these companies until the companies say, okay, you know what? We're not gonna make any more magazines that carry more than 5 rounds, right? And then guess what? The companies are gonna do that. They're gonna oblige. They're gonna stop making magazines that carry more than 5 rounds, and then the shootings are still gonna continue. The inner city violence is still gonna happen, and they're gonna be like, man, we forced Glock to take off that notch to make a whole new series of guns. We forced all the gun companies to stop making magazines that carry more than 5 rounds. So let's just, you know what? Let's just force them to stop making semi-automatic weapons, period. Let's just stop all the companies to stop making, you know, semi-automatic weapons. Let's just make it single fire weapons where you gotta shoot it, boom, and you gotta load a round into the magazine, put another round in, boom, shoot it, load a round, boom. Let's just stop them from making semi-automatic guns because obviously the violence is still happening, people are still getting shot. So let's just force these companies to stop making semi-automatic guns and make all their guns single fire. Boom. They're going to sue all these companies. They're going to continue to sue all these companies and say it's public safety. We're doing this for public safety reasons. We're going to sue all these companies. So you guys got to follow this new regulation, this new rule. You can't make semi-automatic guns anymore because we're trying to protect the country. We're trying to protect our children. We're trying to protect the United States. So you cannot make semi-automatic guns anymore. They're going to sue these companies until they either comply or they go out of business. Tell me, is that really in the interest of public safety, or is that control? Because you're forcing them to change whatever products they're making. You're forcing them to do it, and if they don't do it, they're going to go bankrupt because they're going to continue to sue them. That's a new form of gun control. Instead of saying gun control, they're not saying gun control anymore because people don't like gun control. People don't like gun bans. So they're not saying gun control. Now they're calling it regulations. We want you guys to abide by these regulations and these rules that you can't make these type of guns. You can't make these type of magazines. It's not gun control. We're just regulating the gun companies. But you're forcing them to make these changes. You're forcing them to stop making magazines that carry more than 5 rounds. You're forcing them to stop making semi-automatic pistols or rifles or whatever. You're forcing them, you're controlling them. That is gun control, people. I don't know how else I can break that down for you, man. So for everybody that's out there saying that it's just Glock, or you people who don't like Glock and it's just Glock, mind you, this can happen to your favorite gun company. If you're a Colt fan, if you're into revolvers, they can make these companies, well, now you can only carry 2 rounds because we feel that this is the interest of public safety. So your Colt can no longer carry 5 rounds in the chamber, shit, I can't think of what it's called right now. You know, when you put the rounds in the revolvers and stuff, I can't think of what it's called right now. But anyways, you can't have 5 rounds. You can only have 2 rounds in there now. That's gun control. They're controlling the gun companies, but they're not calling it gun control. They're calling it regulations and rules. That's my only problem that I have with this, because when is it gonna stop? If you guys think it's gonna stop there, if you guys think that, okay, Glock was forced to stop from discontinue making all their product, their guns, and come out with a whole new series of guns that's gonna prevent people from putting Glock switches, if you think that it's going to end there, then you have something else coming, because it's not going to stop there. They're going to wait a couple years, they're going to let it simmer down, and then they're going to come up with a new problem. Hey, magazines, man, we got to stop. We can't have these high capacity magazines. We got to force these gun companies or these manufacturers who make the magazines to stop making magazines that carry more than 5 rounds. We got to do it. It's in the interest of public safety. We got to do it. Then they're going to sue these companies, until they bend the knee and follow their rules. And then, you know what? People are still getting shot. There's still a lot of inner city violence. let's go ahead and ban semi. Let's go ahead and stop them. Not ban. I just said ban because that's what it is. But they're gonna say, let's force the companies to stop making semi-automatic guns, so we don't have to worry about people killing themselves in the streets. We don't have to worry about inner-city violence. So let's force them. We're gonna sue them until they bend the knee and do what we want them to do. That's gun control. That's just a new form of gun control. That's what they're doing right now. That's what they're doing. They're not outright saying gun control or banning stuff, but literally that's what they're doing. And like I said, they're gonna force Glock to discontinue. They already forced Glock to discontinue all their model Glocks to come up with a whole new series of Glocks. They're gonna wait a couple years. Watch. You watch what I say. They're gonna wait a couple years. They're gonna let it simmer down. They're gonna let everybody, because people in America have amnesia. Americans seem to have amnesia. We always seem to forget what just happened a couple years ago. So they're gonna wait a couple years. They're gonna lay low. They'll be like, okay. Then they're gonna start up again. They'll be like, you know what? We gotta stop making these high capacity magazines. It's in the interest of public safety. We gotta stop it. And it's not gonna stop. They're gonna ban that, lay low, wait a couple years, and then they're gonna come up with something else. Oh, we gotta stop this. We gotta stop the gun companies from making this. We gotta stop them from doing this. We're gonna sue them until they bend the knee. And then they're gonna lay low a couple years, and they're gonna come up with something new. And that's the new form of gun control that these politicians and these anti-gun groups are doing. They think they're slick, and the thing is, a lot of Americans is so blinded by all the bullshit that goes on, all the distraction that goes on, that they don't see what's really happening. They use something, they create a distraction so they can distract you, so you're focused on that. Behind closed doors, they're like, okay, we gotta do this now. They're gonna do this, boom, 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 boom. Before you know it, Glock is banning all their line of guns, coming up with a new series and this and that. And you're like, what the hell? That's why it's a big topic, because it came out of nowhere. Everybody's like, what the hell just happened? This has been going on. This is what they've been doing behind the scenes. They've been distracting you with all types of stupid shit on the internet. You know, the news has been distracting you while they're working on this. And then you're just like, what the hell's going on? Why is Glock just stop? Why is Glock not making these guns anymore? Because instead of you guys paying attention and trying to stop this, you guys are saying, oh, that ain't my state. That's California. That's Colorado. I ain't worried about them. But all these states are going to slowly get on board to what California is doing, what they're trying to do in Colorado. All these states, Texas, Florida, all the super gun two-way friendly states are going to slowly get on this bandwagon, because they're going to fool you. They're fooling people into thinking, well, it's not a gun control, it's not a gun ban. We're just doing this in the interest of public safety. All we're going to do is have the companies stop making this. All we're going to have them stop making this product, stop making this. And that's all we want. We just want them to stop doing this in the interest of public safety. But that's control. They're controlling the gun companies. If the gun companies don't comply, they're going to continue to sue them until they go bankrupt. So that's all I got to say about that, man. That's my 2 cents. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I had to speak on it to let you guys know my perspective, to let people know what's really going on, because a lot of people are just blinded to the bullshit. And I just had to come on here and speak my piece and say what I think, man. But anyways, man, that's it, man. What do you guys think, man? Hit me up in the comments, man. Let me know what you guys think about this whole Glock V series. I don't care either way, man. At the end of the day, I just know this is just the beginning. You know, people think that this is the end. No, this is just the beginning. It's not going to stop. More lawsuits are going to happen. More stuff is going to come out. More legal gun control is going to happen. And that's where we're headed to, man. But anyways, man, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for supporting. Thank you guys for checking me out. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys turn on the bell notifications so you guys get notified every time we drop a new banging video, man. Until next episode, it's your boy, Stats Aren't Silly. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.